Remy.
Jesus.
Oh, I saw that guy.
I saw that, Remy.
My man.
There he is.
Oh man, Godzilla,
That poor guy.
Godzilla Raids.
He doesn't even look. It
Rip
doesn't even
Ink.
look like him. It doesn't even look like him in this one.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what happened here? What happened, my man?
He took,
Yeah,
took
we're gonna
steroids and buffed up.
exactly.
Oh,
He's
man.
like, I
Yeah.
lost to Godzilla one time. I'm not losing again.
That was before the gym.
Yeah, exactly. That was Dad,
Yeah.
Bod, and Gurius. We got Buff and
Before he
Gurius in
started
later
taking care of
movies.
himself.
He skipped leg day. He skipped everything because he flipped right off that cliff and went right in the water.
Yep. Godzilla was like, oh, okay. You're dead.
Oh,
Oh, man.
Alright.
We're about to get into that.
No,
What we're doing right now. We're about to talk about this movie.
Oh
I had
man.
to.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Godzilla Raids again. My man Serg, this is the movie that you picked. Before we get into the podcast, I'm one of the hosts. I'm Donald.
I'm Nick.
Serge.
I'm Remy.
All right, and let's get right into it. Serge, I'm coming to you first, man. This was your movie. Coming fresh off the 1954 original Godzilla film, how important was this film to be just as successful?
Well, I think I
That's-
think it was important because I mean, obviously, it's a very important movie. You don't normally think about it like that, but I mean, it's the second one, right after, like you said, 54. So I think it was very important. I don't know, and honestly, I don't know how successful it was because it's probably one of, I mean, Son of Godzilla and Godzilla's Revenge get talked about more than this one, which is weird. But I think it was important because it set the stage for the verses, and kind of how the rest of the movies would follow as far as like their blueprint. It's the first verses in the Godzilla movies. It's obviously not in the title, but Godzilla's fighting another kaiju throughout the movie. So, and that's the first one that we get like that. And then of course afterwards, we have all the hundreds of other ones that followed in the same footsteps. So I think it was important because it set the stage for all the other ones. There had to be a first one to experiment with. So although I don't think it was, it's obviously not as successful as the other ones. Right now, I can't really speak for then because I mean we're talking 1955. Godzilla was popular at the time over there in Japan. So I want to say this one probably did pretty well over there as well. It didn't do that great over here because it was jumbled up with the Americans. We made like kind of our own version of it, which I was actually lucky to see. It was because it was first called Gigantus, the fire monster here in the States, and I actually remember seeing that when I was a kid, probably about the late 80s, early 90s. I actually saw Gigantus, the fire monster, that version on TV a long time ago. So
Wow.
even though, like I said, it's probably one of the most least talked about movies, I think it was important because it helped us get what we have now, and later on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's important. But one of the things you said, he was able to expand a lot of more monsters because Godzilla's first opponent is Anguirus, and I think it was important as well because it was a good follow-up film after the 1954. Because in 1954 you have just Godzilla, then you got Serizawa, you got the humans trying to stop something that they've never seen before, and then you follow it up, which I liked about Godzilla Raids again. It still has that 1954 feel. It still do. Yeah, it still has that same feel. So I thought that was cool and that was awesome. And but I thought it was really, really important. Super important because it also helps, kickstart the franchise a little more too. Like you make the 1954, then you come back, you make a solid movie in 55, and now you can start making a handful of Godzilla movies because this is actually working. Remy, I'm gonna come to you. Coming off the 1954 original Godzilla film, how important was this film to be just as successful?
Mm, I'm gonna say it was important because, like Serge said, it introduced the Godzilla formula to us, which is Godzilla fighting another monster, whether he was on our side or whether he was on his own turf. So I feel like if they if this film was successful, I feel like Toho probably would have gone more with the versus movies because they're like, oh, we have a formula, and it turned out a good profit, so we might as well continue with it. Because I feel like if they probably knew if they went back to Godzilla being alone by himself, that would start making people realize well, they're just doing the exact same thing before. Godzilla's by himself and he's the villain again. Like with audience, especially today, you want to change things up because the more you change the movie up, the more people want to go see it and the more money you make. And so I feel like with this movie, I felt like the formula was a good introduction to the usual films of Godzilla fighting another kaiju. So I feel like this movie's like role of being successful was extremely important, especially for like that time period.
Good answer, Remy. Good answer. Nick, I got to come to you, bro. Coming off of the 1954 original Godzilla film, how important was this film to be just as successful for you?
Well, like Serge and Remy, they made valid points. Like this movie, right off the bat, right after King of the Monsters, it introduced another kaiju where
Mhm.
Godzilla actually can fight another kaiju. So instead of making it boring and bland, with Godzilla just roaming, doing his destruction just by himself,
Right.
I felt like it was more important to, like they said, keep going with the verses and verses and verses leading up until, we got the 19, forgot, the Godzilla Returns,
Oh
Godzilla by
yeah,
himself, leading up to that,
yeah,
which was pretty good.
and when with and Gear has been in this film, like all of y'all are right. That's when we start seeing these unique monsters like King Ghidorah, Mothra in these films, Gigan, like the list goes, so on and so on and so on. So I thought, that's why this film was really, really important. And this film was a solid film. Like it wasn't bad. I was able to watch this film with no problem, especially at the beginning. The beginning is one of the best parts of the movie. They show my ladies. They're putting their work in.
God sakes.
I mean, they got right to it. They got right to it. So I was like, you know what, this is not so bad after all. Serge, we get our first look at Anguirus. What stands out the most about him in general and in this film?
Well, what stands out is how he is having
God.
protein shakes. That's what stands out. For those of us that I think for most of us in our age, our varied age group, Godzilla Raids again is like one of the last movies that we wind up catching up with. As we were introduced to the series. So I think for some of us, after seeing Anguirus and other movies, we're a little surprised as to how he looks in this movie because he has his moments where he looks really good, and then he has some moments where they don't. And especially the ones where it's obvious that it's like a
puppet.
Yeah, it's like a hand puppet. It's like a sock puppet or something. Doesn't look very good, But hey, 1955. What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even in 1954, that one moment where Godzilla sticks his head over the mountain and he shows this like tiny shriveled up looking arm. If you pause it, it looks pretty.
Yeah, that was bad.
Same thing with Anguirus. You see him, he does that little like.
Oh yeah.
It's like I said though, it's indicative to 1955, and that's as good as they got. Although I will say that for being 1955, for Anguirus and Godzilla, that I think they had the movement of them. I think the good shots where they actually had them not sock puppet style, but where they actually had the guys in suits fighting was actually pretty good. It's like surprisingly good for the time. And I guess the only thing I didn't like about it was how Anguirus and Godzilla look, specifically Anguirus, well, both of them. as far as they sped up the fight. You know, you can tell that they sped it up. I think both of them would have looked a little better if they just let it regular.
Be normal.
Yeah, it would be more like real large heavy monsters fighting. But surprisingly, Anguirus looks okay some of the time.
Yeah, like somebody took the remote and set it on fast forward and just let them.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
money.
It's funny. Even my wife was watching it with me, and when it got to those parts where the fights are sped up, she was asking, "Why does it look like that? That looks kind of funny." And, yeah, it's true. It does look pretty funny. But Anguirus was awesome, just to see him, right? Which is one of the things I was surprised about the movie that I didn't remember how the monster action starts pretty quick. So it's like you see Anguirus and Godzilla right away, and I think that was something that was surprising. And then just to see Anguirus, a new kaiju, if you were just coming from 1954, that's pretty cool. And especially like you don't have to wait for him. There he is, pretty quick after the ladies, of course.
Oh yeah. And what's crazy is when I was watching Godzilla Raids again, I was like, wow, that's a good way to get introduced to a film. You fighting Godzilla because that's the first time you see Anguirus. He's actually fighting Godzilla. And I will say this: when I first saw Anguirus, I believe I was maybe 10 years old when I first saw him. He was like my favorite kaiju because it was something about the spikes on his back. I thought it was different. I had never seen anything like that before. So he was one of my favorite kaijus when I was growing up, and that's just what stood out to me in the film is his design. I always thought his design was different, and it was really unique, and especially for that time in 1955 to come up with the design like that, I thought that was awesome. Like, I mean, for the time being, and when I was watching Godzilla Raids again, as you see the evolution of Godzilla, it's like, wow, he's really been making movies for a really, really long time. And in order for them to sustain that, that's really impressive. Really, really impressive.
Mhm.
Remy, we get our first look at Anguirus. What stands out the most about him in this film to you?
I guess it's kind of like similar to Baragon, where like he has that same scrappy kind of like personality to him, where he knows that probably Godzilla's like outclasses him, but yet he's still willing to go toe to toe with Big G, even though he realizes that I might lose, but hey, this guy's on my territory, so I gotta take him out. So I feel like it's kind of like that, but also I also really like Anguirus' like overall like silhouette. Like if you look at Anguirus' silhouette, it's a really cool design. Like I agree with you, Don. Like I really like Anguirus' design like overall. But like again, this is like probably one of my least favorite Anguirus designs. Like to me, I think the top tier Anguirus design is this one. Like the one that we get from the 60s and 70s up. That's exactly. That's my favorite Anguirus design of his. I also like 2004's design. But to me, like this is a good first introduction to Anguirus. Like it's a new type of monster. He has an interesting design. I like how he's on all fours and makes the fights a little bit more visceral and a little bit more interesting because like Godzilla's on two legs, so he has to figure out a way to like grab Anguirus because Anguirus can like just walk around and has more agility than Godzilla does.
Right.
So I feel like it was a good intro to Anguirus, and it was a good starting point for the designers to go, okay, how can we make these kaiju a little bit more extravagant and more interesting looking instead of just looking like just dinosaurs all the time. So I feel like it was a good blueprint. And also, one other good point. You guys are talking about the sped up footage during the fights. There's actually an interesting point about that. So I learned about this like a while ago, but the reason why it's sped up is not because they chose to sped it up. It was an accident, actually. They didn't have time to fix it. What happened was that when they were filming the fights normal speed, of course, but then something happened, I think, with the camera, and when they got the footage back, it looked all sped up. And I think they just didn't have time to fix it in post, so they just put it in the film like that.
Will somebody fix it?
What?
Will somebody fix it?
No. Keep it the way it is.
It's just too late.
Yeah, it's too late. Put it in.
Nick, we get our first look at Anguirus. What stands out the most about him to you in this film or in general?
What stands out is in this one, he's actually walking on all fours. If you look at the other ones, he's dragging his hind legs behind him.
Oh yeah, true.
It looked like he got crippled after the first fight.
And that's how those dogs scratch their butt, slide across the dirt of the grass.
But this design actually introduced us to the first Anguirus, and you know, it was pretty cool. Sad that he died, but if you actually paid attention, I don't know, it's a comparison to King of the Monsters. You saw where he died.
Yeah.
And then you see in King of the Monsters, the 2019 King of the Monsters, you saw his skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was above where the skeleton died, where they fought? So below was Godzilla's house. Godzilla was actually only fighting and protecting his house.
Wow. Look at Nick spin that fire. Yeah, that's a
theories, people. Theories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an awesome point, man. And Godzilla didn't let up, man. Like,
no, he didn't. He bit his. When I saw him bite his neck, I'm like, is this where he dies already? I'm only like 30 minutes into the movie.
All right.
I guess that's why they showed him so much. That's why they showed him at the beginning, right off the bat.
But
Because
they
knew he was gonna die.
Serg saying the sped up version of like throughout the movie, I caught it. I was actually on like, is that me? Or no, that's actually in the movie. I'm like, okay, well, you know, it's
like, what did I press?
Fire.
What did I press?
Yeah,
you're like, crap.
I'm on my Xbox, so I'm like, damn, did I press it? No.
But,
you know,
they were throwing fast hands and fast biting.
You saw the parts where they were puppets, and then you saw when the people were in the suits, which is pretty cool. I like the suits part. They got the movement, they got the dorsal fins, you know, really moving, and they had Anguirus with his solid back. Like his back was actually solid.
Yeah, he had a killer. He got a
pretty
killer
cool.
design, man.
But we also got introduced to an armadillo with spikes.
Yeah.
He really.
He the baddest armadillo walking around.
He is. He's an ankylosaurus, just on steroids.
But yeah, but like I said, even when I was a little kid, I always wanted to see Anguirus. He was one of the kaijus I always wanted to see. It was him, King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla. I like the Space Godzilla too. When I was little, I always thought it was different. I thought it was cool. And my brothers would be like, "Why are you watching this?" And I'd be like, "Because, he's the king of the monsters. Why wouldn't I watch this?" And so they used to mess with me about watching Godzilla. Now they love Godzilla. So ironic how that turned out.
Honestly.
But Serg, I'm coming back to you. Favorite scene in Godzilla Raids again, and why?
It's like I think it's an awesome scene. It's kind of a morbid scene, but it's the scene where Godzilla lights him up. It just when he beats him and just lights him up, but partially because I remember watching that and thinking, like, wow, like this is pretty brutal. That's
barbecue.
That's pretty brutal for 1955. Like I know because you didn't get anything like that in King of the Monsters 54. I mean, he did like on people, right? But like I just beat this guy. Now I'm gonna light him up. It was pretty brutal. Wasn't expecting that. The very very first time I saw it years and years ago. I wasn't expecting that. From the movie, you would just figure that he just lies down and that's it, he's done. But no, you had to blow him up too. And also just because he does that initial flame, and then you just see that like explosion, and then he just and then also the scene that goes with it too. Everything's ablaze, which is one of the things I liked about this movie, as that it still has some of the spirit of 1954. Some of that darkness is still there, and partially because it's still in black and white, but then also it still had some of those scenes of, oh shoot, some of those more morbid, darker scenes, and that was, another monster getting lit up on fires. one of them too. So that's my favorite scene.
And it's like Godzilla just looked at him after he already killed him and like, dang, I don't got nothing else to do, but let me just set you on fire. I mean, I know you dead, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this anyway. And it's almost like you put like charcoal or something on charcoal. I mean, gas, the lighter fluid on charcoal. He just like light a match. He just throw the match with his castles on fire. That's what Godzilla did. Godzilla just
Well, and the cool thing is, that's the first time we ever see him do that. If you follow the movies from first to last, it's the first time we ever see him do that. And then you see it as the movies go on, And so I think that was also part of it. Is like, wow, this is the first time that he does this in cinema history, and I thought that was pretty cool.
He's the first kaiju to die from the atomic breath.
Yeah.
That is
true.
Yeah.
Remy, what's your favorite scene in Godzilla Raids again?
My favorite scene is probably like when Godzilla just comes ashore to Osaka. Like, I don't know, like for me, like that shot of the black ocean, and you just see Godzilla's like head poke out and like start looking around, and the music that accompanies that scene. Oh my god, the music is so creepy. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm kind of getting chills right now. Like seeing Godzilla just like slowly like come up to the surface and just start walking up to Osaka, and like it's in black and white too, so it kind of makes the footage look somewhat real to me. I'm like, oh god, this looks like someone like recorded it, and like you just see this creature come out of the water. Like it was awesome to me. Like the shot composition too, but you have the jets flying over trying to light the flares so they can try to get them away from the city. Like that was probably my favorite scene in the movie, just seeing Godzilla like come out of the water, because it reminded me of like all those like a classic Godzilla scene where you have the quiet city, and all of a sudden you just see the spikes come up, and then Godzilla slowly rises out and like starts walking towards the people. Like this is classic. That's like classic Godzilla imagery to me.
It looked like he disappeared for a minute too. It looked like he popped up.
And he was like, "Where am I?"
Cut back to the water, like he was back up under the water again. And I think too, watching Godzilla in black and white, it makes it seem like he's just much more menacing. Like, I'm really, really fine with how Legendary is doing Godzilla. I have no problem with that. But when you go back and you look at the old Godzilla, it's like people were really, really scared in these films that he was coming. Like you can see the panic, you can see the evacuation. It just seems more different than how they do it with Legendary do it with Godzilla, if that makes sense. Like in 2014, you see them running when he makes his landfall in Hawaii. But in this one, it's like you really see them scared for their lives. So I thought that was cool. Nick, favorite scene in Godzilla Raids again?
I actually have two.
Okay.
The first one is Serg, obviously, because kind of brings back a memory from a certain movie. Brutal.
Oh god.
And the other one is when they trapped Godzilla in an iceberg.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you kind of pay attention, I don't know, it's just me, but it kind of looks like the same Godzilla that was trapped in an iceberg in King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, about to say that.
That's the reason why.
I love that continuity. It's just like, oh, Godzilla's trapped in an iceberg, just like the last movie. I'm like, oh.
And it's crazy how all his movies are like it's something different in each movie, or it's a scene in this one that's similar to a scene in that one. And I always thought that was cool. Mine is when they had the flashback, when they had the meeting. I thought my TV was messed up for a minute when the whole meeting was quiet. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was like,
hold up. And my kid was talking. I'm like, hold on, be quiet, cause I think I'm missing something. And the TV was talking.
Hey,
shut up! He's trying to watch Godzilla.
And I like when they started playing like his original theme, and the police cars were driving. It's like they were just getting away. It's like it was on beat. Everything lined up. Like they were just trying to get away from him, and he was just destroying the city. And for some reason, I like his atomic breath too in this movie. Like it was melting everything. Like I seen nothing but flames. Anytime he used it, it was nothing but flames. When he used it on Anguirus, the whole background was flaming. Mm-hmm. Anguirus was just kind of just moving his head like he was crazy. I don't know what he was doing.
He was like annoyed. He was like, "Stop it!"
Like, this is hot. This is hot.
It's like, God, stop it. This hurts.
Serge, what are some of the flaws you had with this particular film?
That's it. That's what I'm
You know what? I won't. I could say, you know, the the cinematography is the hand puppets and stuff like that, but I really won't. I really won't mess with that just because, you know, it was 1955.
Right.
It's the first time anything like that was being done on that kind of scale. So I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm just gonna say, so, you know, what I thought was surprisingly the pacing of the movie to me was actually pretty good.
It was
Until it got to the middle, like after Anguirus is defeated. And Remy, you brought up an important thing about the music. The music right after Godzilla defeats Anguirus and it goes to the next human scene. They're in the building and they're cleaning up. That's some really dark sounding music. Real depressing. That was really cool. But from that point on, it goes to where it's like snowing and stuff like that. And for that 10-15 minutes, the movie just kind of like, you don't really know where it's going. You don't really know what's happening until Godzilla appears again. That was kind of my my one thing when I was watching it was just kind of wondering what happens next. Like where's this going? We had so much, like a lot going on, and then all of a sudden, the movie just kind of drops down. And that's probably like my main thing about it. Surprisingly, okay, well, there's not much for character development or anything like that, which I don't really mind too much, just because at least most of the time people are focused on, well, what do we do about Godzilla and Anguirus and that, you know, they kind of take center stage most of the time in that regard. But one thing my wife noticed when those three guys, well, there's a bunch of guys that escape from the jail car or whatever, the three that mess everything up and that attract Godzilla back, like when they're the movie is serious enough, right? Like I know there's some moments where people are laughing and chatting and stuff like that, which is fine. But when those jail dudes are running around, like they're like waving their arms around and they're like falling over like over nothing. Yeah. When I was watching that, I was like, I feel like I'm watching the Three Stooges.
Yeah, featuring Godzilla.
Yeah, with Godzilla in the background blowing stuff up. I mean, that was funny. It's not like a deal breaker or anything, but I felt like that point in the middle of the movie where it's almost kind of like they just didn't know what to do, where to go from there. Like I feel like you could have cut all that part out, and the movie probably would have been a little bit better. Like I said, I'm not gonna get on the effects and stuff like that because it's 1955, man. What are you gonna do?
I definitely didn't mind the effects. I thought they actually did good. You know, like we all said, for the time that this movie was created. Like I thought, because there were some really, really cool shots that reminded me of the 1954 original Godzilla film. That were some really, really good shots. They were awesome shots. And like I said, I mean, there's really nothing you can do about that. I mean, if you look at the 1933 King Kong movie, he doesn't look all that good himself. Mm-hmm. So, but I would say my only thing is I agree with you, Serge. After it like kind of starts snowing, I'm like, all right, Anguirus is gone because their focus was on Godzilla and Anguirus. So now I'm like, where does this movie go? Mm-hmm. So there was a gap where I was like, okay, I'm wondering how this is going to play out. And until Godzilla shows up again. So Godzilla, as always, he really did make this film. But, you know, you don't really find out what's going to happen until he shows up. So that's why I do agree with you, Serge, on that particular point. Remy, what are some of the flaws that you have with this particular film?
The music. I would say mainly the music. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the music in this film. Like, there's some like there's some pieces of music for this movie that are really good. Like the main theme, I really like that theme. That's one of my favorite themes. In fact, I usually think of that theme when I think of Ingarius. I'm like, that's Ingarius' theme. Because like I don't know, like for some reason that I make that Ingarius' theme. But to me, like during like the last half, they kept repeating that same theme over and over again. I'm like, do you not have any new music to accompany this? Like any new music at all? I'm like, it's kind of getting old, man. And,
like sometimes the music is good.
Yeah.
And then the other time, like exactly like you said, like when they're searching and stuff, it was like the same music over and over again.
I know. I'm like,
it was like out of place music too. It was kind of weird.
It was. I was like, why are you playing this? But the characters too, I didn't really find them anything special. I didn't hate them, but at the same time, I'm like, take them or leave them. They're all right, I guess. I'm with Serg on this one, where like after Ingarius and Godzilla have their fight, that's when I thought the movie like slowed down a bit. And I was like, okay, let's hurry up, come on, let's get back to Godzilla, please. I'm starting to lose interest. Hurry up. And my last con would be Kobayashi, the guy, like the main character's friend. I'm sorry, but the way he died was so stupid. The way he like flew in towards Godzilla with his like, let me remind you, weaponless plane. He has no weapons on it. He has nothing to help him with it. He just goes down to fight Godzilla. I'm like, what are you doing? Godzilla's gonna kill you, dude. You have nothing on your plane that can help you. He's going to kill you. And guess what? Boom, dead. I'm like, see,
and you know how
happens, man.
you have some movies where you actually really do feel sorry for some people that die. I didn't feel sorry for him at all. Like that was just plain.
That's your fault, bro.
Heartless.
And I was like, what is wrong with you, dude? But it's simple. I'm like, you see Godzilla.
The girl.
No. He flew in with this rage, like he just knew he was about to do something, bro.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna save the day. I'm like, if you're gonna take Godzilla down, what makes you think your little biplane is gonna do anything to him?
My man thought a kamikaze was gonna work.
No, Nick.
No pun intended for kamikaze planes, but he thought kamikaze was gonna be the day saver.
The same thing. I thought the same thing.
Oh my god!
I was like, damn it, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, he flew in. He was angry too. Yeah, then he didn't fly in. It wasn't like he was shooting like any missiles or anything from the front of his plane.
Exactly.
Like if you're gonna lean up like that, you better have something.
Yeah,
come out.
Exactly. I can just imagine like epic music playing when he's like flying towards him, like, yeah, and then it cuts back to Godzilla just staring at him like this.
And then the other pilot act like he was so shocked that he died. Like, you know, he did something stupid.
Exactly. I was like, what? You didn't warn your friend?
Is anybody really surprised? I mean, look what he did.
Nick,
we're horrible.
I'm coming to you, Nick. What are some of the flaws you had with this particular film?
Well, the kamikaze is my number one.
Oh my god.
Number one. Number two was
I love it.
That gap period after Godzilla destroyed Anguirus, that big gap period.
Yeah.
Up until the snow, like
it wasn't a long time, but it felt really long.
It felt really long.
It
like,
did.
I was pressing fast forward for about a good 30 minutes. I'm like, like that was a pretty long gap period for the movie. Like, I mean, I understand they probably were like thinking, you know, we can carry on with this if we bury Godzilla, introduce him into another movie. You should have did it like maybe 15 minutes after destroying Anguirus.
Yeah.
Not put that long gap period. Like the movie would have been fine, maybe an hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
An hour and 21 minutes long was too much.
And I think what happened too, they gave us Godzilla and Anguirus like
a too early.
Point. You see him right off the bat, but they showed him quite a bit too. And
they could have extended it. They could have extended the fight a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if they slowed it down.
Yeah,
exactly. They fast forwarded too much. It went way by too fast.
And you know, took out the kamikaze scene. Would have been fun. I wouldn't understand if he had a gigantic missile under the plane.
Yeah,
and went to kamikaze, but You kamikaze was just a plain airplane coming at him.
Serg, I'm coming to you with this next question. How did you feel about the death of Anguirus?
Oh, boy.
Obviously
Too
pretty
fast.
good if it's my favorite scene. I mean, no, I mean, it's weird because, like I said, Raids Again is usually one of the latter films that all Godzilla fans wind up seeing when we revisit the whole franchise. And so, I think most of us are used to seeing Anguirus as Godzilla's buddy, So it's kind of weird to see, Anguirus get blown away by Godzilla. So like at the same time, like, oh, this is cool, man. Like they're fighting, and this is the first time this has happened, and whatever. And then he gets lit up, and it's like, oh, awesome. Oh man, like you can't help but I couldn't help but feel kind of bad just because I'm so used to seeing him as it's kind of it gets you in two different ways because it's kind of cool, but it's kind of sad at the same time. I mean, not as sad as Baragon's death, but
Oh, God. I knew
Somebody was gonna mention it. It was either me or
it.
Serg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Sorry.
One
Remy,
thing
that-
I will give Anguirus is he did not run. Baragon actually, he's on footage running. He's trying to crawl up that hill, but he's too chubby, so the hill can't handle his weight. So
Look at
he's
those
trying to
ears.
crawl.
Are we sure he
No,
was
really?
trying to run, or was he trying to just launch himself again? Pretty sure it wasn't running.
He was
pretty
like,
sure he
okay,
trying to
it failed the
launch
first
himself
time. Let's
again.
try again. Give me a second. Hang on.
He got the first launch perfectly. He bit his arm, and then the second launch is where he failed and got knocked like 7,000 feet up in the air.
Third time's the charm.
Oh,
Probably what he thought.
How you feel about the death of Anguirus?
I don't know. I'm conflicted on it. I was like, on one hand, I'm like, oh shoot, Godzilla, you kind of went brutal on him, man. Like he like bit his neck, he like see the blood like dripping down. It reminded me of GMK, but it also reminded me of Godzilla vs Kong when Godzilla was like crawling on the ground and he acted all vicious, biting Kong's feet and like slashing him and stuff like that. Like Godzilla in this fight reminded me of that scene. I was like, oh shoot, maybe they bought reference from this, but yeah, but like to me, Anguirus' like death is kind of brutal. Like I kind of winced a little bit when I saw him just like get rolled over. Like Godzilla was just like, get out of here, getting on bad boy.
Just go. I think
Godzilla.
He's like, and garbage. You kicked him over.
Godzilla wasn't sure if he wanted to go back home or if he wanted to do something else. He was conflicted, so he was like, the job is not done. So I don't know why Godzilla did that. Godzilla got a better heart than that.
He was like, let me check for a pulse. All right, nothing for good.
Just in case he, try to move or something, and Godzilla just put him out.
I felt the floor vibrate. It was his heartbeat. Let me just blow him up.
Nick, how did you feel about the death of Anguirus?
I don't know. I felt really bad for Anguirus. The whole neck biting, and then the insult to injury with a flame at the end.
Oh my god!
It was insult to injury. Yeah, I defeated you. Now I'm gonna roast you.
Yeah, he cooked him like he barbecued Anguirus. And I'm sorry. And the chubby guy with the binoculars, he had the glasses on.
Yeah.
I don't know what he thought.
He got to witness it. He was like, oh no, he's dead. I'm like, yeah. Okay. What are you gonna do?
You know what they said after that? He said, after this, they panned away from him. Yo, he got roasted.
Yeah.
Hey,
and another part that I liked in that film was when they was having a meeting, and he was like, they don't have any measures to take against Godzilla. Like, it just shows you how bad he is. And I love that line in that film. Because it's like, how do you stop something, like
Unstoppable.
that? Yeah, you just can't stop somebody like Godzilla. But I mean, like I said, to me, this film was actually is an overlooked film, like Serge was saying. it really is overlooked. To me, it's a really, really important film. Like you guys were saying, because it started the verses. It started the verses. We got our first glimpse of Anguirus, and then we got a glimpse of how brutal Godzilla can be and how terrifying he can be when you have to evacuate different cities. And it's crazy because Tokyo, it's like every day they got to wake up and not knowing if Godzilla's
am I
show
gonna
up.
be alive or am I gonna
Yeah.
die?
Survey says dead today.
We'll
Okay,
find
dead
out.
today.
And you don't want to be sleep, and you don't want to be sleep when he comes. Like Godzilla. I don't know. It's just something about Godzilla that is
He would
terrifying.
be looking into your room to see if you're asleep. Is there somebody in here? Okay. Punches.
When he hit that lady with his tail.
Exactly. He was like, "Oh, my bad. Yeah, give me a second."
I'd rather be asleep and die like that than wake up and watch either a tail or a foot come at me.
Oh
or
yeah, that would be terrifying.
I'd rather be asleep.
She could have been getting the IV or anything, and just boom. And she thought she was in the clear too, because she smiled when he walked past. She was like, "Whoo!" And that tail just came, boom. Still ain't paying no hospital bills.
Nope.
Oh God.
So,
hospital bills.
Out of 5 stars, how would you rate this film? Godzilla Raids again.
Me? Oh.
1 star.
No, that's reserved for a few other movies.
Oh.
What other movie was this bad?
Well,
What do you think, Nick?
what do you think, bro?
We warned you about it, Nick.
That was a horrible one.
You know what? Out of how many? 5?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. I give it a 3.
I'm in between like a. I'm gonna go with 3 because I was gonna say like 2.5, 2.5, but I actually, I enjoyed it. Like I actually enjoyed it, minus that 30-minute gap like in the middle of it. But other than that, for the time that it was, I think it did a good job as the transition movie into what we would see after that. Which is kind of funny if you think about it, how I said earlier that, it was like the experiment movie. Okay, let's bring another monster in and see what we can do there.
Yeah.
So now that, like, after this movie, they were like, okay, so maybe we shouldn't show the monsters so early, and maybe we should reserve the death scenes or the winning scenes for the actual end. Although, I will say that ending scene is a very, very interesting scene because it's one of the only ending scenes in the Showa or in general that humans are actually able to stop Godzilla on their own, not by machine, not by anything crazy, but just ingenuity and thinking things out and saying, well, you know what, let's just avalanche this guy in. We're not going to kill him, but at least we'll be able to stop him for a while. And if you look at most of the other movies, it takes either another monster, Mothra, a machine, a mecha, and we haven't gotten one like that.
Or tag team.
I don't know if ever again. I don't quite remember. So I do think it was a good movie. I don't think it was a great movie. So for that, I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3, especially with some grace on that and 1955. Like I said, what are you gonna do? I can't get on their case about that. So a 3.
Okay. Remy. Good answer, by the way, Serg. Out of 5 stars, how would you rate Godzilla Raids again?
Be nice.
All right. I'm gonna give it a 1. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Serg just like, be nice. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 1. What? I just said okay. Nah, I'm gonna go with Serg in this one. I was really thinking 2, but after watching it, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because I thought I was gonna hate this movie. I thought I was gonna loathe it. Not as much as the other movie.
Nope.
That movie's garbage.
That's the one I'm picking, bro.
God, no.
I'm just playing.
Okay, but I say it was like, okay, good. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I thought the fights were cool. Like, even though the sped up footage was a little weird, it didn't bother me that much because it kind of like made them look a little bit more animalistic, you could say. But to me, I'm more used to the slow paced Godzilla movies because it just makes them feel more weighty. Like they actually have heft to them. But again, it was an accident on the film's part, I guess, or they just did it that way because they thought it would look cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. To me, it's an okay Godzilla movie. Like if you watch it, you're not gonna hate it, but if you skip it, you're not gonna miss that much either.
It's not a movie that we're gonna direct new fans to.
Yeah, no.
Right away. It's kind of like you get to that one eventually.
Like before you watch any Versus movies, watch this one.
Yeah.
It introduces you to everything else.
I wouldn't do that. I'm like, no, go watch the newer ones first. Watch this one later.
Well, Nick, what Godzilla movie you prefer to watch? Go watch Godzilla Raids again.
Yeah, introduce me to the rest.
Nick, out of 5 stars, how would you rate this film?
I would rate it a 3 stars. It, like Serg said, not gonna knock it. It's from the 1950s. It's really not that much stuff to do with it. You really can't do anything. But the effects were pretty good for what they had to work with. And this movie actually started introducing the versus theories and everything going on.
Right.
And
the first crossover, Marvel fans.
Yeah.
Toho did it first.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Respect.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not a movie that I hate, but it's definitely not a movie that I'm just gonna be like, all right, I feel like watching Godzilla Raids again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's do it again.